It's Billy here. We're just gonna go over some the responses to some of my Magic is Yu-Gi-Oh! Better Than Magic video. I had to redo this video, so I'm not as excited as I was last time. I'm a little bit talking a little bit slower, but I guess it's a little bit calmer. And I just want to start by saying that when I first made that video, it was going to be titled why I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Over Magic. But I decided to change it because it would create some more controversy. And since I'm a Yugi tuber, controversy is hits, and I like hits because it makes a little number down there. Unless YouTube changed its video format higher, I wanted to get more views. That's what I did. So some of the points you heard in there would make a lot more sense if you think that was somebody just coming in, trying to come into the game, but got turned off by it. As for EDH, I was wrong about EDH and how it worked. Uh, I I don't know. The person who explained it to me said that you're allowed one of every card. And since a lot of times Magic players, when they argue about Yu-Gi-Oh, they'll say, "Oh, Magic's better than Yu-Gi-Oh. There are cards that are worth more than my house." I just kind of assumed you were playing those cards in the game. I didn't think they were just collectible. But no. So, okay, that we got that out of the way. I'm gonna stand by my set rotation point. That I don't like the set rotation. Some people are sticking up for it, and good on you. And I fully said in the first video, I saw what you mean by keeping things fresh. Um, as for the whole ban list over Magics or not, another problem I have with Magic is how many different formats there are in Magic. I can't even keep track. I remember I wasn't trying to get into Yu-Gi-Oh again. I was trying to get into Magic, but as a new player looking at all different formats, I didn't understand. That's why I got EDH wrong too, because there's just so many different ways to play Magic. I don't even know what the main tournaments are held in. I know it's a standard, I think, and is there any other kind? I don't friggin' know. One person though, who's like one of the best Magic players in the world, or a really good Magic player. You might know him. I'm not gonna name drop him. He made some counterpoints to my video on Facebook, and I'm just gonna address some of them too. And one of them was that you have just like if I don't like the set rotation, you still have to keep buying booster packs in Yu-Gi-Oh. That might have been how it was back when he played. I remember like I played with him when he played Yu-Gi-Oh. That kind of changed. Like Dark World's been strong pretty consistently for a few formats now. You could probably play a Dark World deck without that much updated cards and still have a really good deck. Drag Down to the Grave is just ridiculous, and they can play Mind Crush at 3 now. So no, I don't really feel like it's the same thing in Yu-Gi-Oh as it is in Magic with having to constantly buy packs. If you disagree, that's fine. But like I said, there are lots of tier 2 decks down there. I also I heard some people complain about the reprints point that it's a good thing that Magic does it because it keeps retaining the value. I disagree because I think everybody should be allowed to play what they like, even if it's an expensive deck. In Yu-Gi-Oh, a budget player will be able to afford any deck they want to, usually a year down the line. It doesn't matter what deck it is, because reprints in this game happen so frequently, maybe even less than down the line. So I stand by liking Yu-Gi-Oh! Just better because if I want to play something like Heradic, Card D got a reprint. That was $130 and you needed 3 in the deck. You needed 3. And now because of the reprint it's $650. Yeah, that's good. So let's just go on to some other points because I don't remember them all. Easier to get into the Magic provide proof. Yeah, okay, the proof is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! You can use any card, even if it's like you can't use Magic, you can't use cards over 20 years old, but you can use any Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, man, as long as it's not on the traditional list. And so it's easier just because I can just hand somebody this deck of even if it's random crap and be like, here you go, here's a legal deck. Doesn't matter, it's all my old stuff. Whereas Magic, if you want to play in one of those like rotation formats, uh it, you really can't you're really not going to be as willing to do that. I mean you can, but when the set rotation thing happens, they're screwed again if they don't want to spend any money. Pretty much, you just be kind of cheaper in Yu-Gi-Oh. And my girlfriend, yeah, like this is a good example. My girlfriend doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And I got her to buy the Dark World deck, and she's bought the Dark World deck, and she's done good ever since. And it's just never really got hit. So I don't know. That's my opinion. I'll get off that topic. Another thing this person mentioned, like the one of the best guys in the world, is that people make a living off of Magic. Like they can write for Magic, or they can play competitively and just make like $10,000 to $100,000 on the side. I don't think this is a good point for why Magic's better than Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't even think it's a point. Okay, the first obvious thing is that's a very small percentage of people you're talking about. Most people who are playing Magic aren't going to win any major tournaments or be making a living off of it. It's not like Magic's career choice where you wake up one day and be like, you know what, I want to be a Magic player for a living professionally. I kind of feel like a lot of people who started playing Magic just started playing Magic because they liked Magic, and they became professionals later on when they started realizing how much they were winning, and they just kept winning. Like they were good, and they realized their skill, and they kept winning. Plus, and this is the second point to that point, is poker a better game than Magic? Is it better a game than Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't know if you played poker, but poker's pretty slow and boring, and it's just for a little bit of excitement at the end. And they have higher paying tournaments than Magic. So does poker better than Magic? No, it really isn't. And so it's the same kind of deal with like Magic to Yu-Gi-Oh. Just because you have better tournaments, that doesn't make you a better game. And I can kind of turn it around too and say Yu-Gi-Oh is the #1 selling card game in the world, even though our tournaments aren't as good. It's the #1 selling card game in the world. It's a point. Like, is Yu-Gi-Oh not technically better than Magic based on sales numbers? Because I think sales numbers are a pretty good indicator when you're trying to judge something. If you go, both are good games, and that's the thing. And I was just stating again why I think and why I prefer Yu-Gi-Oh over Magic. And Magic's a perfectly good game, and I'm not taking away from that. But that's not a point. And oh, Magic streams. Okay, Magic streams, but Konami can't really stream. This is more of a they want to kind of hit the children's audience. That's probably their bread and butter for selling sets. And considering they don't want to enforce things like swearing, they just have to write their articles. Like that's just how it kind of goes. There was actually somebody wrote on it a little article. Sorry, somebody wrote an article as to why Konami can't stream. It was like a Konami employee, and they actually did try streaming at one point, but it was such a pain, and the payoff wasn't exactly worth it. And you have to consider other things too. Like now, it's not just swearing, but mats. Like you can't have racy mats if you're going to be streaming, and let parents see that. They're not going to let their kids play in the professional leagues if they see anime girl mats and stuff. Another one of the points made was Magic's like some Magic players prefer your Magic over Yu-Gi-Oh or say it's better than Yu-Gi-Oh because it's more skill intensive and it's longer. But you know that is fine, and that's where kind of the game separations go because Yu-Gi-Oh is more like blackjack. You know, Magic's like poker. It's usually going to take a little bit longer. You're going to have to think a little bit more about your moves and when to hold them, when to fold them. Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh, it's mad. It's blackjack. You're opening your hand, and you know if you're gonna win or whether you're gonna lose. Well, like you're like, unless my opponent's hand's really bad, I probably lost this. Or it could be like, well, unless my opponent has a Gorz or something to stop this attack, I'm gonna push for game right here, and that's fine. You know, sometimes it's like I just prefer faster paced games. I'd like the game to be over in 20 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes, preferably 20, for the match. So out of 2 to 3 matches, which is how Yu-Gi-Oh is done, I kind of want it to be done a little bit quicker. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind a slower format. Maybe something that takes like 6 or 7 turns on average instead of this usual 1 to, well, yeah, it actually end in 1 turn now because I remember, but 1 to generally 4. I kind of feel Yu-Gi-Oh paid its dues, okay? Yu-Gi-Oh's paid its dues. It's 10 years old. It doesn't have to worry about new card games coming in. I remember back when it was like Bull Shock Dragon or something. Some new show came out, card fighter show, and it was kind of a little earlier on or midway through Yu-Gi-Oh's life. A lot of people thought it was gonna be like a Yu-Gi-Oh killer, and it didn't. It fell. And the Naruto TGC that came out, a lot of people said it was gonna kill Yu-Gi-Oh, and it didn't. It fell. Yu-Gi-Oh fought to stay alive, and it's earned its place. It's one of those games now that you really don't have to worry about it going away. It's kind of like Magic in that sense. Like Magic players know nothing's going to kill Magic, and Yu-Gi-Oh players know nothing's going to kill Yu-Gi-Oh. They're both on the higher pedestal. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh's not as old as Magic, and that's still fine because Yu-Gi-Oh's still really friggin' old. As for money wise and value, okay, it's debatable. It's which is more expensive to play. The more expensive game, in my opinion, would be the worst one. That's how I feel. I think that it's a game, so you should therefore be able to pay a less amount of money. Uh, and that's why it fluctuates because somebody gave me a link to like a $500 tier 1 deck, but on the other hand, last format you could buy probably 300 on Chaos Dragons, like spend 300 with the Chaos Dragon deck and the extra deck, and that's kind of stretching because it's literally 3 Chaos Structures, 3 Solar Recharge, a BLS, a Photon Strike Bouncer, King of Atom. It didn't cost very much, my point, to play a top tier deck last format. And this format, it's like $1,000, which this is one of the most expensive formats since the Teledad format. So I don't really consider this format a good point because this is one format of many, and this is the most expensive one. It's not a fair thing to say right now that Yu-Gi-Oh is more expensive than Magic or that Magic's more expensive than Yu-Gi-Oh because it's going to depend on both games' formats and rarities and a bunch of different factors. Yu-Gi-Oh's extra deck is actually kind of an interesting factor too because, like I said, reprints happen a lot, right? So things you could buy something that's like a $25 extra deck card, like Leviar the Sea Dragon, and then it gets reprinted, and then it's like a $5 card. But when did you get into the game? Did you get into the game when it was 25, or did you get into the game when it was 5? It's gonna depend. That's gonna kind of depend on how much you spend in the game, and it's debatable. It's definitely debatable. And those are just my views on Yu-Gi-Oh versus Magic. I hope you liked this video. It was a little bit more calm and respectful because of how tired I was when I originally did the video. And if I missed any points, I probably will try to get to them, or I'll like later on. It's not going to be for a while. I want to get back to talking about Yu-Gi-Oh and giving my opinions on the metagame and stuff. But I hope you enjoyed this video regardless, and I hope I cleared some things up.